Welcome to the School of Athens by Estelle and Leah.
Making philosophy more accessible to younger people.
Hi guys, we're back after a while.
I'm Estelle.
I'm Leah. And today we're really going to the depths of metaphysics because we're talking about fatalism.
So last episode we did determinism, and often confused with determinism is fatalism. And today we're going to talk about it.
Yeah. Because if you remember, determinism is about everything having a cause or everything being caused by something in the past. And fatalism is a little bit difficult to distinguish, but basically we can sum it up with saying what will be, or it's different from determinism because it's more abstract. It basically says that everything that happens has to happen, that there's some necessity to everything that happens, So
yeah,
basically that there's no open opportunities anywhere in the future, the past, that you can say, for example, today, I don't know, tomorrow, like it's gonna rain or whatever. Or that's because you can actually look at the weather, but it's something that you can't know. Like you can say tomorrow, like a stone's gonna fall on my head or something like that. And that it's already determined whether that's going to happen or not. That there's no room basically of it happening, for it happening differently than it's already determined to.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of like confusing if I say that it's already determined to happen. Like it's not, because then we confuse it with determinism, but it has to happen.
And I guess fatalism is often confused with the belief in Christianity predestination, that God has determined whether you'll go to heaven or not before you were born. But I think that's a misconception because fatalism is very much logic based, and
But I think it's important to also note that there's no one, because with the word fate or destiny, it seems like there is something or someone deciding what needs to happen. But yeah, as Estelle said, with God, there is no one that decides what's going to happen, or there's nothing that needs to happen because of a storyline or something. Like it's just about things actually on a, as you said, on a logical level being already settled. Everything, the past and present and future, is already settled.
So just to clarify, there is a difference between fatalism in literature, where it's everything is inevitable, and the philosophical, logical fatalism. Just to
I mean, not only in literature, but generally, right?
And there's also a difference between logical fatalism and theological fatalism, because theological fatalism is to do with how God predetermined everything. So we're just talking about Aristotle's version of fatalism with the sea battle. In fatalism, so I think Aristotle is the best guy who lined out the sea battle argument, which gives a really nice illustration to this argument. The sea battle is so if it is true today that tomorrow there will be a sea battle, then there cannot fail to be a sea battle tomorrow, since otherwise it will not be true today that such a battle will take place. To just break that down a bit, tomorrow there will be a sea battle, and that's a proposition. And then this idea of a proposition is quite important in this topic, because a proposition is something that's either true or false. It can't be both. And so if this proposition that tomorrow there'll be a sea battle is true, then there can't fail to be a sea battle tomorrow, because otherwise this proposition would not be true today.
Exactly. And maybe to put it the other way around, if you say, for example, today you say tomorrow there's going to be a sea battle, and then the day passes and the next day comes and there is a sea battle, then you would say, oh, of course, yesterday I was right about that prediction. It was true yesterday that today there was going to be a sea battle. So just show in retrospect, you kind of say that something had to happen, or that there was no way that there wouldn't have been a sea battle, because obviously there was.
I guess you can like prove, almost in a way, prove the truth of your statement, because whether that happens in the future or not, whether that is true or false, is something that you can see like in the future, and that will like attest to the truth or false of your statement that you said now about the future. But that also like leads into one of like the main counter arguments, just because like the truth of or falseness of your proposition can be like tested in the future doesn't mean that your statement now is true or false.
Yeah, exactly. So if you say that the battle is going to happen tomorrow, then nothing about, the moment, or nothing about the present makes the statement either true or false. So like right now, your statement doesn't have a truth value. So, there is basically an open possibility. It could be either true or false.
This idea of prediction as well is quite key, because I'm predicting what will happen tomorrow, but that doesn't mean that my predicted statement is true.
I mean, also like another part of this argument is that, if you say there needs to be something happening, for if you need to wait another day for something to come out as true or false, if you need that like extra something until you can actually say whether your prediction was true or false, then obviously in the moment there was something missing. So you didn't have like that knowledge or that truth factor yet. So basically, that's one of the main counter arguments to the sea battle argument. But generally, like even though it's difficult to prove or even talk about fatalism, it's actually an idea that has held up for a long time. Like as we said, Aristotle was kind of the first initiator. And I think it's very interesting to think about
A
it.
lot of people would just be like, oh, a proposition, I'm sure there is some way that something can be true and false at the same time. But the idea that a proposition can only be true and false and not both, I think that's like a very key idea in philosophy of logic, and something that's not easily like taken, you can't easily counter it, because that would break down like a lot of arguments in philosophy. Like I feel like that's a very much like major topic to debate, and um that's not the point about fatalism. And also in this chapter there's just a short example that the author uses, which I think is quite interesting. They said that we observed that my finishing a mile run is not an open possibility at times like now when I haven't been running. That's because to finish a mile run, I'd have to like cause different things to have happened prior to now. So like if I need to have run a mile now, it must have been that I'm already running. But like right now, there's nothing that I can do about me running, because I'm not running at the moment. So I must like, in order to run a mile now, I have to like change the past so that I can be already running to run a mile. This
What I find difficult, like with that, or what I find difficult about putting that in context with fatalism, is that, obviously you can't change everything. You can't I mean, being or not agreeing with fatalism doesn't mean that you think that anything is possible at any point, right? But it just means that not everything is settled at every point. So obviously you can't change the past. Like in that moment, you can't decide whether like you're gonna run anymore. But if you make a prediction, for example, in 20 years on that day, like this is going to happen, then I think, shouldn't there or couldn't there be the possibility also that it's not settled yet whether it happens or not?
Yeah. Well, I think like the success of fatalism really relies on how whether the past can fix the future.
Mhm.
And I think that's a lot of what arguments base their ideas on. Um,
Yeah.
also,
But
just
like, because like last week I agreed with determinism, like partly or like not completely. So what I find like difficult about fatalism is this aspect of like necessity, so
mm,
that it has like something really has to happen, or that everything's already settled and nothing can be like, I don't know, can be changed.
yeah. What about the concept of free will and more responsibility in fatalism? Like, what do you think about that? Like, because that was a
Um,
topic that we talked about in determinism.
yeah, I think it plays kind of less of a role because fatalism doesn't really say that you can't choose to do something, but it says that it's already settled, like whether you're going to choose it or not, or that it already is true or not that you chose something, right? It doesn't really affect free will, I think, because it's more about the being settled part or yeah, just this abstract idea of everything already being either like true or false, or, everything already being settled.
Yeah. I think it's like less of a sequence or like a linear path in fatalism, whereas in determinism, it's all about like one thing causing something else, and then so on and so on. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, no, I think so too.
Also, almost on a side note, do you believe in fate?
No, do you?
No.
No.
Um, no, but like I've always been really into Greek mythology, right? I think one of my favorite stories it was like about this girl who gets like told her fate, and she's like fated to marry this like horrendous beast or something, and that beast turns out to be this gorgeous angel. Or I don't know.
Oh,
No,
do you mean Psyche? Do you mean the like
yeah, yeah.
oh yeah.
I think it's Eros and Psyche, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that story. But like I love just this idea of fate is so romantic, but I think in real life it doesn't really. I don't think so, at least. Also, with
Yeah.
like the whole Oedipal complex with Freud, the whole thing is how Oedipus was like fated to marry his mother and kill his father,
Oh.
and then he set off to change his fate, and eventually it still happens. And also in Shakespeare, like all the plays, I don't know, we're getting kind of off topic here, but I think it's just really interesting.
Mhm. Yeah, you mean Macbeth and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
But like just to make it clear, like um fate doesn't really play a role in fatalism. Like it's not really, I mean in fatalism there's no fate. Let's take Oedipus. Like in fatalism, if Oedipus was told his fate or like his future or whatever, then he could still change it afterwards. Like it's not, like if he's being told something, then he can still change it. Like he still has free will. That's why I said before that I don't think that like fatalism poses a problem to free will.
Fate in these stories is like the no matter how hard you try to change it will always end up being that way. And I guess that's not really about free will. I think like even if you assert free will, it's just somehow it just still ends up that way, but that doesn't mean you don't have free will.
When I said before that nothing has to happen because of a storyline, but it just has to happen because of like logic. Like that's what I meant, right? So nothing has to happen because Oedipus has to kill his father and like marry his mother or whatever, like in the end. But it just has to happen because whether he marries his mother is already true or false in this moment, like before it happens. So, guys, we hope you kind of got an idea of what fatalism is, and maybe even understood what we were trying to explain.
It's a very difficult topic, and well done for like coming with us on this journey of understanding fatalism.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I think next time we are going to talk about religious philosophy. So if you're interested in that, definitely, tune in.
Yeah. Well, see you next time, and hope you have a good time before the next time we talk to you.
Exactly, which we don't know when it's gonna be, but Okay,
So
bye.
hopefully. Bye. Thank you for coming to our lesson.
We hope to see you again next week.